Hey there.
How are you? Let's
Good,
play
thank
this
you.
video
Good.
real quick and then we'll talk.
Most people are pretty nervous about the next few years. The good news is, we are not most people.
For 40 years, whether we knew it or not, this has been our guiding principle.
Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail. And so at Keller Williams, here is our mantra for the next 3 years. Thrive 25. Our vision is a 360-degree street view of who we are and who we can be, together. You're more than leaders. You're world changers. Just because there are less opportunities doesn't mean your opportunity is less. We've built a place for entrepreneurs to thrive, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Now is not the time to hide in a bunker. Now is the time to hit the street and shift into overthrive. Yesterday is the enemy. Satisfaction is a leash. What got us here won't get us there. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are for. We will not be anchored to the past. Entrepreneurs need to be uncaged now, so they can rise up and pick bigger fights. Let your vision be outrageous, and let your people be amazing. This is freedom. We'll operate as a team of teams. Strategic when needed, wild when needed. Many opinions, but one voice. You'll command your database, command the street, command the future. Our goals for Thrive 25 are not easy, but they are simple. 100,000 agent millionaires and 100% of our market centers netting $1 million or more. How? Well, you helped author the answer in 2004. She who controls the lead controls the industry. And today, we say that another way. Teamridge. Providing more leads so our people can be more human, more often, with more people. Leads turn into appointments. Appointments turn into customers. Customers have closings. Closings become communities. And that is a business worth owning. These next 3 years are where we level up and come out the other end, millionaires in control. This industry has come full circle. In the beginning, brokerages partnered with their agents. They stopped. It's time to team up again. Ready, set.
I'm always waiting on him to say something right there, and he doesn't. Lee Collins, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Very
Have
good.
you been on one of these yet? Introduce yourself.
I am Lee Collins. I'm the team leader at KW Atlanta Midtown. And yes, this is not my first time.
It's not your first rodeo. First rodeo with a hat on, I see. All right. What does that video mean to you?
There's one thing that really stood out, and it's very, very current with all the AI stuff out there at the moment. And it's the more human, more often.
Yeah.
I really like that because reading around a lot of the press, the big thing about the AI is that if it's used correctly, it's going to give you, the agents, time to be more human more often with your network, with your sphere. I think it's brilliant.
Yep. One of the things that I think about this video is you're going to see in one of the articles today, a lot of the predictions and the commentary is, oh, we need to get to 2025 to survive. And that's just not how we choose to be. That's not the words we're putting in our language. That's not the mindset we're taking. Because I don't think that anybody is in this industry in our world just to survive. I think we're in this to thrive. And I like the word thrive instead of survive, because I believe there are going to be agents in our organization that grow their business in the next 3 years. There's going to be agents that quadruple their business in our organization in the next 3 years. I think the economy is what the economy is, and we can create our own reality based on activities, knowledge, skill set, and where we go. And it starts on conversations like this. So thriving is is the term, thriving is the mindset, thriving is everything as we're going forward to 2025. So I just thought it was interesting to start with because I like thrive. All right. If you go to therealestatestats.com, which we've been driving everybody to forever, it looks different. And you'll notice the community statistics are specific statistics. If you click on, I'll pick one, give me Brookhaven. If I click on Brookhaven, it drills down into all the demographics and the area details for the city of Brookhaven. You could do any city, and if there's one on here that, or there's not one on here that you want on here, drop us an email and we will get it added. But some of the cool stuff is client facing in annual rainfall, age demographic, employment demographic, all the stuff. But what gets really cool are the schools. So if I click on one of these elementary schools, it tells me down to how many kids are enrolled in each grade on that specific school. It tells me the breakdown of the school, breakdown of the gender of the school, breakdown of how many have free lunch, all this stuff that your clients ask you for. How many full-time teachers, what's the student to teacher ratio? It's all broken down into these community statistics tab. You will notice on, we've redone all the office websites. So the community statistics tabs are already in the office websites, but it's also an option we can get added to your personal website. So you need to see Luke at Luke Benton at kw.com, I believe. And you can talk to him about it if you want, but nonetheless, that's what the community statistics are. County statistics is going to take you to the Google sheet we've been using forever. And then Atlanta statistics and national statistics are password protected. And I'll put the password in the chat because you are here and you can use this password to unload those. But I'm not going to say it out loud because we load this on YouTube. Make sense? All right, so we're going to jump into these county statistics, Lee.
Yeah.
And if I jump on here, Fulton County, 656 active listings. What do we think about that?
In the context of building towards a more normal spring?
Yeah. I mean,
I think,
at the beginning of January, there are 355.
Yeah.
There's 656 at the beginning of February.
Yeah. So, but we're still way under inventory. So we're still in that weird seller's market.
Yeah.
That's true. Jason anecdotally said that over the weekend, he was advising multiple agents in the PC program on escalation clauses.
Yep.
So I'd say the market.
Hold that for a second. Hold that comment for a second. I want to get to something. So pendings, consistently more pendings every single week. Even knowing right here was the end of the month and we had a lot of closings. 101 expired at the end of January and 223 closed. So here's my question. Do you have an expired listing campaign? At minimum, you can use the 72 sold marketing materials and mail it to them. But 223 closings, closings are up and the pendings are continuing to creep up. But here's the commentary, Lee, and I thought about this morning as we were getting ready for this call. So I want you to think about, we talk about the relationship between supply and demand, right? So we all think because there's more supply that means the market's getting bad, which is not true. There's more supply going on in the spring market, right? Or we might think if there's more demand that the market's getting tighter and better and faster, which could be, but there's also a third factor inside of all that. which is we're actually closing less houses right now. So because we're closing less houses, there's still this relationship between supply and demand on either side of that that tells us what the market feels like. So how many agents in your office, Lee, have told you they participated in a multiple offer recently?
I hear it still quite a lot. And as I say, this weekend, Jason's program, multiple times he didn't give me a figure, but that was his comment when I said, what's your feeling? Are we building towards a normal spring? I think we are. Everything is always back to the fundamentals. Invention of AI doesn't matter. Go back to the fundamentals. Market doesn't matter. Fundamentals. If you get something priced properly, you're going to sell it. Buyers are able to breathe a little more now. They can take their time deciding. They can even have a short list of houses to go back and revisit because we're not in the COVID craziness. We're just in a normal market. There's ample opportunity and there will be multiple bids. There will
but
also be
here's
houses
the
that sit there 160 days.
perfect. So here's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, we're closing less houses right now. That's an understood fact in the marketplace. But the relationship between supply and demand is actually holding at a same tightness. The relationship is staying tight because we still have properties that are getting multiple offers. We still have ugly houses not selling. We still have new houses coming on and houses going under contract at similar rates. So the byproduct of that is prices are going to hold.
It just feels strange because after 2 years of COVID craziness, this feels weird, but this is normal.
Yes. So I think the byproduct of all this is what's going to happen with pricing, right? But anyway, I think it's worthy of looking at. On the
nationally, they say that Q2, Q3 price reductions will bottom out. I don't think that's true for Atlanta. I think we're just cruising along.
Yeah. So let's look at one other thing real quick on the Fulton County line. If this is January 1st, do we have a trend up in closings? Is it flat in closings? It's trending up, right? You see that line trending up. If I get to DeKalb, January 1st is here. It's an upward trend. It's really important to pay attention to the trends, right? So 344 active, 189 pending. What I find interesting is, once again, this line had a bunch of closings, but we still have more pending the first week of the month than we did the last week of the month in January.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still building. 141 closings and 41 expired listings. So between Fulton County, dang it, get out there. Hang on. Fulton County had how many expireds? 101.
Mm-hmm.
DeKalb County had 41. That's 142 expired listings the last 7 days. Just pointing it out. Cobb County, 384 active inventory. This county's got the largest active inventory out of the 3 that we've gone through. 212 pending. If I did the same analogy, they actually went backwards a little bit on pendings over the turn of the month, but not too much. And 152 closings, right? So right here's January. Is there a trend line here? Yeah, it's starting to creep up, but it's a little slow, So it's worthy of paying attention to. So Lee, here's the question. Is AI smarter than you and me?
It may not be smarter than you.
Well, let's go to GPT and ask him, what are the economic predictions for the real estate market in Atlanta, Georgia?
He can only tell you up till the 2021 period.
Yeah, right. There you go. That's the bottom line, is the data in this AI only goes through 2021. There
will be other AI platforms coming out. Google, everyone are going to have it in the search bar. Everyone's racing. Wharton Business School are allowing their students to use it, but putting them on notice that they'll be held accountable for the errors. So they have to know their stuff. They have to know their data. They have to be able to substantiate the argument. No
Yep.
different in real estate. This is a useful tool, but you still have to know the facts. There was a software engineer convinced ChatGPT that during the first 100 days of a presidency, the president had to write a biography of the preceding president. He reasoned it out with the AI until it agreed with him.
Nice. All right. Atlanta home sales comparison by month. Orange is this year, blue is last year. What do you see? A little bit of a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
So how on earth
Still
do we
less
have
inventory.
do what?
Still less inventory
Yes. So how are we still having multiple offers?
because the good stuff goes.
It's the
still
relationship
looking to
between
buy.
supply and demand, which is why this stat alone, if I just looked at this stat, I might think all prices are going to go backwards, but it's
can-
not all the whole story.
I think Mark King says about market knowledge, you know, you're smarter than AI, you're smarter than any national aggregator. You know, the anecdote I can tell you is that having listed $1 million listing in Alpharetta, it took longer to sell than had that property been a $2 million listing, because the demand in Alpharetta is with cash buyers who can go $2, $3, $4, $5 million. $1 million requiring a loan is harder. So I know the market in that subsection of the metro area. So the stats, yeah, the micro are important, not just macro.
100%. So I find it interesting. Okay, so Inman had their conference last week in New York, and I always laugh because they want you to go to these conferences and then they tell you everything in an email right after it was done. So which is funny, but nonetheless. Okay, so here's the topics that came out of Inman last week. When will the market improve? So there's widespread agreement among both economists and mortgage professionals that the current market will bottom sometime in Q2 or Q3 2023. Mortgage rates are expected to remain at about a 6% and inflation should continue to decline. So what does bottom mean?
The price reductions that are perceived to be happening nationally.
I don't 100% agree, and yet it's all opinion. So you could be right and I could be wrong. To me, bottom is the velocity of closings. I think the lag measure of the market is how many closings are happening, because that ultimately is the measure of the relationship between supply and demand, right? Unless there's just an overall shortage.
Mhm.
Now, I will be the first to remind you that I don't believe the real estate market in Atlanta, Georgia is going to have the same experience. I believe real estate in Atlanta is already on its recovery, and we're expecting February and March to be a consistent incline. And I would think by summertime we should be good.
Mention
But
global.
I don't think we're
Forbes.
going to get interest rate relief.
But mention global Forbes, everyone agrees that we're a market to watch for 2023. So we should be leading the way.
100%. And then here's the one I take issue with is the survive to 25. There's a flight to quality. The agents, companies, and technologies that survive until 2025 will be the dominant players as the market begins to improve. Buyer and reality TV star noted, it's going to be exciting to see who will stand the test of time and volatility. I just hate this statement because I don't think it's a survival statement. I think it's a thriving statement. Is those that take notice and those that go do the activities will find a way to thrive. And then on the other side of this, I agree with this, will be dominant players. If you're thriving now, you'll be incredibly dominant on the other side of this.
Skilled professionals practicing the fundamentals.
Yep. This isn't the apocalypse. Do we need to talk about that? Fear is like gasoline. Whether fear you have, fear is like gasoline. It can either burn your house down, heat your house, or it can fuel your car to go forward. I agree. I think there's a lot of people that operate better under trying times, that operate better under anxiety, operate better under not perfect conditions. It's the underdog mentality, right? Is what's driving you to go win. And then, of course, how do you win in today's market? Be who you are. Perfect is not entertaining. It's okay not to know and or tell your client, let me check that. Stand out by becoming super knowledgeable rather than being an order taker. What do you make?
It's true. You build trust by being honest with people. If you don't know the answer, but you are a skilled facilitator, you can find out the answer. And it's just as well my clients respect the fact that I don't know everything, because I don't.
Yeah.
Same with my agents.
I find this industry update an example of this. Is I remember at one point in my journey, I felt like I always had to say the right thing and be perfect. And otherwise don't say anything at all. And I'm sure I've made comments on these industry updates that just didn't hold true. They were predictions. Yet we show up here and give our opinion and talk about statistics and have conversations, but we are who we are. And I actually think the power is in the vulnerability. And do you do that in your business? Are you vulnerable in your business? Or are you trying to be perfect and the most presentable? Because if you are, you're only going to exceed some level of success. But if you actually go the whole way and be vulnerable, you'll experience a larger level of success. And it's tough and it's scary. Yet that's where power comes in, right? Being the local economist of choice. There's no national company that is smarter than you in your neighborhood. You need to be the local economist of choice who gets your unfair market share. Lee, we're on here talking statistics in Metro Atlanta and statistics in counties. But the truth is, it's the neighborhoods that are the real statistics.
Yeah, you know, in certain neighborhoods, even across the street, a good example, a neighborhood I used to live in, 65 houses, they sold 3 or 4 a year every year. That was it. Across the street, similar sized neighborhood would transact probably 15, 20 homes a year. That one appreciated in value faster, even though essentially they were built by the same builder in the same year and just divided by a small road. So knowing the difference is not something that you would pick up from FMLS stats, for example.
Yeah. This one drives me crazy. What will cause you to fail? Casualties in this market will come from 2 things: egos and lack of action. Well, egos is a totally different call. We probably need to get into some psychotherapy or something to work through the ego conversation, but the lack of action is a big deal. Activity is what creates results. We could talk about all the things around it, like Bold used to talk about your program and leads to your thoughts, which leads to your feelings, which leads to your actions, which leads to your results. And then it changes your programming. The reality is results come after actions. So if we can get people into action, whether it's action around marketing, action around advertising, action around prospecting, action around social media, action around open houses, action around door knocking, action around expired listings, that's what's going to create the results. And if I'm going to be real for a minute, Lee, we got a lot of pandemic lazy still hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
We created some bad habits during the pandemic. One, because the market was so good, we didn't have to do a lot of action. But now that the market's not great, we got to go back and do a lot of action. And if you don't choose to do that action, you might fail in this market.
I think it's interesting that to some extent, if you are a new agent to the industry now, it's somewhat easier than if you say have 15 years beneath you in order of gearing up and getting going. You know no different. But yeah, action, an imperfect plan actioned is better than the perfect plan never actioned.
You know, I used to interview agents when I was in a team leader role, and I'd have a big successful corporate executive walk in my door that's choosing real estate as like a second career or something. And I told them, I said, you're probably going to struggle more than most. And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm saying, here's the challenge. You forgot how you got to the corner office. And if you're going to start something new, you got to remember what takes success to make success, right? Like what action it takes.
Remember when you were hungry.
Yeah, when you were hungry and humble. And the pandemic and other things made us forget what was necessary to go make business happen. And it's time for us all to remember. And on here it said amnesia is killing your business, which means we need to go remember what we need to do to go win. From a marketing, advertising, prospecting, open house, door knocking, expired listing, internet lead gen, whatever you choose, you got to go do it again. And then of course there's hot takes on AI. We talked a little bit about ChatGPT. But I think overall, it's a good summary of what went on at Inman. And I think it's good talking points. The other thing, I attended a good investor workshop at the in-town office the other day, and they were talking about Airbnbs as investment properties. And I found this article on Inman as I was preparing. It sure looks like Atlanta's starting to crack down on short-term rentals. So I think to be an expert of an Airbnb investor, I think could be a really strong strategy going forward. And to be the expert means you got to navigate all the zoning laws, the city laws and the municipality laws and the HOA restrictions around short-term rentals. So it's not something to play in unless you want to be an expert in it and go after it, right? You're a man of many words today.
No, I think there's a lot of risk in dabbling and not knowing. If you lead someone down the path to invest in properties they can't actually monetize, they're going to come back. So this is one where you definitely have to make sure you cover yourself.
Yep. So check this out. This is a neighborhood in Mexico that, let me get over the ads, that 3D printed the entire houses. And what they did was they went in and 3D printed 500 and something square foot houses. So right now they're small houses. I think at some point in time, there'll be large houses. And Lee, do you know how long it takes them to print one house?
7 hours. I have no idea.
24 hours.
24, that's pretty good to build a house.
Okay, so now I want you to think about this for a minute. Obviously, this seems far-fetched. This seems like the T Model Ford, right? Like the Model T. Mm-hmm. But at some point in time, this is going to show up in our backyard. And I want you to think about a thought for a minute. So the amount of production time and cost, if a DR Horton were to put a 3D printing arm on their business, they don't have to pay for builders anymore. They don't have to pay for plumbers anymore. They don't have to, you know what I mean? Like the cost of construction would go incredibly low, one, and two, how fast could they fix the inventory problem in a city?
And I mean, the smaller house living is a popular thing, a popular lifestyle now. I think we've got in our office land listed where people have investigated being able to build small communities, tiny homes. There are certain limitations on what you can do at the moment, but that's going to have to adjust. The laws will have to catch up.
Yeah.
I
I
it's
think there'll be a
interesting-
company, just like Tesla came in and created the electric car, right? Now everybody has an electric car. Somebody's going to change the construction of houses to 3D printing. And it'll probably start with small houses, or it'll start with a Pulte or a DR Horton or something like that in a neighborhood. And the amount of houses they could build if it takes 24 hours to print a house versus 6 months of new construction.
It's hard to imagine they're not already looking into this. There aren't departments, and research projects running just to figure out how they can monetize it legally, protect themselves, and make the model work.
Yep.
But affordable housing is a big push as well.
100%. All right. Jeff, you said it sounds so depressing. We're going to thrive this year if we just use good KW skills. It's not depressing. Numbers have no.
I meant the article earlier that
Survive.
yeah.
Yep.
When they said the sky is falling until 2025, I said that sounds so awful, but I don't agree with it.
I
we
don't
just do the
either.
right
I
thing.
think we're good in Atlanta, 1, and 2. I learned a long time ago, you don't get emotional around data. You get emotional around your response to data. And so if bad data comes in, what's my emotional response to it? Not that I'm mad about the data or upset about the data. How am I going to emotionally respond in action going forward? And that's really how you navigate data, if that makes sense.
You look for the opportunities
There you
always.
go. We got to start and end on time. We're 3 minutes over.
Not bad.
Happy
Thank you.
Monday.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.